Welcome to the garden in June. There's been a lot of rain, so things have grown just really well. We haven't had this much rain in a while, and it's really nice. There hasn't been a whole lot that's had to be watered. So we'll start in the cottage garden that's in the front yard. The daisies take over at this time, which is one of the really nice things about a cottage garden, is that everything can just grow however it chooses to grow. If the daisies were not taking over, the weeds would be. So that we plant in groups and then just let the daisies go wherever they want to. These are daylilies that will soon be blossoming. Here's the lamb's ears and the hollyhocks in the back there that are coming up. Look at the peony. Will be opening very soon. Nasturtiums are planted in this, spilling out of this little pot here, crock. And back there in the back, against that old gate, is the clematis that I had to trim back so abruptly, and it is just coming back beautifully. I'm so excited about that. Here are the strawberry planters that we made out of the chicken waters. There's one on each end. We've been enjoying strawberries out of here almost every day. So this has been a fun addition. Okay, the fairy garden got a little bit of TLC. You can see the oregano coming up in there. And we found a way to make our pond and river work. And here's the garden gnome door. And then on to the Hawaii garden. May is such a busy month with trying to get all the plants in the ground that the weeds just kind of take over. But we did manage to get some weeding done here, as well as some planting. There's some things in here that are coming from seed, so they're not up yet. Here's some more of those daylilies. They love the sun, they love the shade. They're just great everywhere. And these are Oriental Lilies. And then here's the mint and the lemon balm, another daylily inside the old pond. And the yarrow that still didn't get plucked up and put back, but it is doing better than it has done in a long time. It's got blossoms on, buds on it. And hostas. What kind of a shade garden is complete without gorgeous hostas? This is the part that did not get weeded yet. All right, so next we'll go through the gate. There's 3 big planters on the back deck. Cherry tomatoes are in there, as well as calendulas, There's some nasturtiums and some borage. And then yesterday I planted some cilantro in the empty spots. So there are two of those. And this area is the last to get taken care of because we always care for the food first, the flowers second, and the areas that are not supporting anything after that. So there's a lot of weeds in here that have to be pulled out. But do you see all the dill that's coming? These little fern-leafed plants are dill. They smell fantastic. And they are a huge, important part of the pickles that happen here all summer long. So dill is in several places, and so that it comes in staggered stages. The parsley became chimichurri sauce before it goes to seed, and then there's more parsley planted in there that will hopefully be coming up pretty soon. And the oregano and the rosemary. And then this little lavender plant. I can't believe it came back. It's just doing so well. Lavender doesn't usually come back very well here. And up here in the top we have two different kinds of basil. The lime basil and the regular basil. All of my purple basil died during hardening off. It didn't survive. I had 3 of these black sesames, and this is the one that survived. So also in the bare spots here, there's some more cilantro planted. Kind of went crazy with the cilantro, which is good. And then over here, have some borage coming up. And then we are off to the vegetable garden with the chickens. The chickens and Libby photobombing our video. So next to the chickens this year we planted, this is where our pepper orchard is going to be, and they survived the hardening off really well. So then at the end of the peppers I put all of the cabbage and kale and kohlrabi are all in here. And all of the varieties of peppers are planted together. I try to put them in sections. I always make sure that I leave the tag with them so that all season long I can tell what it is that I planted. I can't usually tell until after they've started producing. So the raspberries have not been weeded very well, but we're trying. When it rains, it can't get in the garden for a while, so maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a better day for that. The rhubarb that I started from seed, there's one clump down here. There's another clump right here, and I put them in clumps of 3 plants. Then over there right at the edge of those weeds you can see some more. And I don't want to walk in here because I also put all of my baby asparagus in here, and then I mulched around it really well, and then I'm just leaving the nursery to be. It has the drip tape in it, so that can keep it watered when the water stops coming out of the sky. and it can just stay there, and then I don't have to step in there, and we'll see what happens. I have never started asparagus from seed before, so we'll see what we see. Here is the comfrey, which is just about to bloom. The bees love the comfrey. Comfrey is a fantastic herb for people and chickens and pollinators. And then this is the horseradish. You're not supposed to dig horseradish roots when it starts getting too warm outside. So it is now too warm outside. We'll have to wait till fall. So then we are going to walk around the chicken coop and end up in the vegetable garden. All of this, all the way back over to the beets over there, was just planted last week. So I'm not seeing little bits of things coming up here. There's some zucchini, and then other squash and pumpkin are planted down these rows. There's pumpkin interspersed with the corn. We plant the squash in with the corn. And if you look really close, see if I can step in here without getting all muddy, you can see that the corn is starting to come up down there. So there's things popping up all over here. The rain has just been wonderful. And here are the rows of green beans. And we plant those in what's called a double row. So there's a row of green beans on this side of the drip tape, and there's a row of green beans on this side of the drip tape. So one drip tape will water 2 rows of green beans, and then when you're picking, you can pick 2 rows at a time as you go down. So what's down there at the end in that sheep wire down here is the asparagus, listen to me, the cucumbers. And so there's cucumbers coming up like crazy on the other side of that drip tape. I can't get over there to get any closer, but you can see them. I planted them pretty heavy. So I guess we'll see how that goes. So while we're here, here's the beginning of the plum thicket. Is just starting to form its little tiny plums. It looks like if everything goes well, I'll have a lot of plums. Sometimes the plums are misshapen and they don't actually make plums. They are bad. They are deformed and they won't give us plums, but these will. These right here will be what the plums are like when they are ripe. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of them. These are wild. So, all right. So here are the tomatoes, and I mulched as I planted. Try and make sure the water stays in because it just gets so hot. And I plant them right next to the fence. There's another video about that. So here's carrots starting to come up in the row next to the tomatoes. And then beets. And radishes. Radishes tops are doing super well. But radishes, they're not ready yet. They'll get bigger than that before they're actually ready. The tops will. They're close though. Look at that. We do have some of them that are ready to be picked. We eat them fresh, and then we pickle some of them and just leave them in the fridge. Eat them on sandwiches, tacos, and all kinds of fun stuff. And then at the end of the radishes. This is Swiss chard down here. This is neon lights Swiss chard. So there will be some that are red and some that are chartreuse, some that are green. It's delicious. We steam it like cooked spinach. And then next to the Swiss chard, there's 2 different kinds of lettuce. Once again, haven't been weeded because I've been trying to get the plants in the ground. So the 2 different kinds of lettuce, and then the spinach. And it's time to start cutting the spinach. As soon as the rain stops, it will get hot and then the spinach will bolt. So we have just a little narrow window of time when the spinach is just delicious. So we use it for all kinds of things. Next to the spinach, the onions are doing super well. And if you notice, next to the onions, the peas that we put in at Easter time are blossoming. So soon we will have pea pods forming after the blossoms. And then in the rows next to the peas, there's 4 different kinds of potatoes. And I used my garden map to map out where I planted them because I can't tell them apart till I dig them. I can't tell by the blossoms. I can't tell. So this is obviously the part that still needs to be weeded. Right here, after I weeded, I used the grass. When I mowed, I used the grass clippings to hill the potatoes. So I will finish next time I mow, getting them all covered up. Now this was covered up all the way to the top leaf and it's grown up this much. So next time I will also cover them up again. You just keep covering them up with grass clippings until they start to blossom. When they start to blossom, you can be done. So this was last year's garden, or this was last year's chicken run, and this was last year's garden and is this year's chicken run. And then there's 2 kinds of fencing to keep the chickens safe. There's the sheep wire at the bottom, and then the chicken wire at the top, because the chicken wire is not strong enough to keep out some of the predators. But then some of the predators climb, like foxes. So these wires down here are electric, and yes, it's on, so I'm not going to touch and show you, but just trust me, the fence is on. And then the cinder blocks on the inside in random places keep the chickens from digging holes that the predators can then get to from the outside. So it's all in the name of trying to keep the chickens safe. And the chickens have done so much work in there. So then whenever I pull weeds, I throw them in there and it keeps the soil covered and it gives the chickens something to do scratching around in there, and also fresh greens to eat all the time. So here we are at the garden in June. I hope you have enjoyed our video. You can find a lot of the things that we do, the methods that we use, on the blog at bowlofcherries.blog.